so we'll keep moving, but we have a great in-session. I think it was all quite good this morning, but we kept the icing on the cake until the last. None of the speakers in the morning here. All brilliant. But so you can see from the agenda which you all have there that the next session is we're going to introduce our fantastic peer support volunteers. So way back in 2018, after our BRCA seminar, it was very obvious there was a need for another service to support people with a BRCA1 or BRCA2 alteration in Ireland. And that's when our first peer service started. And we have some of our first peers here today. And these are wonderful ladies. It's not patients, I'm trying to say, because we're not patients, but wonderful individuals with a BRCA1 or BRCA2 alteration who have come forward and volunteered to be there to support others with a BRCA1 or BRCA2 alteration. So at the moment, we have 10 amazing peers. And if you would like to chat to any of our peers, you go into our website. We'd really ask you here today not to approach the ladies because they need a break, and we also want to do this in a correct process. So go to our website under services and go into BRCA, and you can submit a page and you can see the profiles of all our peers as well on the BRCA page. And if you would like to speak to a specific peer, you can state that. Sometimes you don't get to do that because we mind our peers. So each peer will get no more than 2 referrals per month. Sometimes none if the peers are on holidays or taking a BRCA break. Sometimes they may say, well, I'll take 3 this month and none next. So we'll do our best to match the individual with the peer of their choice, but all the peers are fantastic. And we also like support the peers in, I hate to call it training because they've got the training, they're living with the lived experience, but we do some supportive training every year. And this year we have 4 new peers. So I think if we invite up all the current peers that are here, you've got blame Helen for the high chairs. She wanted you on the podiums. So if we can bring you up and just, say hello, and would really appreciate that. Thank you. Lisa. So we'll get each of the peers to introduce themselves and just say what they don't want to say. But can I say a huge thank you to our previous peers? Don't point you out down there. Previous peers, and every peer, every person needs a break, a BRCA break. And this is something in my own family as well, so I know very much so. So we're very grateful to all our peers, current peers, past peers, and thank you so much. I mean, these are the people that provide the support to you guys. They understand that BRCA journey more than anyone else. Living with the BRCA1 or BRCA2 alteration, you know the journey. So thank you so much. So ladies, let you all introduce yourself. And can I say as well, there's a few peers not here today, and we have one peer coming in online, Melissa. So Melissa Nolan is coming in online. So we'll work our way down to you in a minute, Melissa. And it is Holy Communion confirmation season. So we have 3 wonderful peers that just couldn't be here today. So thank you, everybody.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Lisa. I work for the Marie Keating Foundation in fundraising. I'm a peer-to-peer supporter. This is my 3rd year now. I'm a BRCA2 carrier. I got breast cancer in 2020 and got diagnosed with BRCA following year in 21. So I have had all my preventative surgeries, and my main support at the time was Marie Keating through Survive and Thrive with Helen first, and then I took Bernie with BRCA. So my passion is BRCA, and that's why I'm a peer-to-peer and love supporting and educating anybody that will listen to me about signs and symptoms and early detection for BRCA and breast cancer. So I'll pass you on to Jean.
Thanks, Lisa. My name is Jean. I'm 37. I'm from Carlow. Not that anyone would open with that, but I live in Kenny, so it's not too bad. I'm a BRCA2 gene mutation carrier. I know about 7 years since I was 30. I did a good few years of surveillance, and then I underwent a conventional mastectomy and reconstruction in November 21. Like Lisa, this is my 3rd year being a BRCA peer-to-peer support volunteer, and it's something I'm so strongly passionate about and really enjoy, even though I'm not sure that's the right word, but I get so much out of it, far more than I'm giving to anyone. So if anyone would like to get in touch, you can do so through the website. Right, thanks a million. Thanks, Jean.
Hi there, my name's Cara. I'm originally from Glasgow, but I live in Galway. I've probably known for about 5 years that I have the BRCA1 gene mutation, which I inherited from my dad. There's a strong history of breast cancer in our family. I've had both my preventative surgeries, and again, like everybody else, I felt very alone when I initially found out I had the genetic mutation. So it's really just a chance to give something back and help others with their journey.
Thanks, Cara.
Hi everybody, my name is Tina. I'm from Dublin. I'm BRCA1. Also I had breast cancer twice. And I'm probably the oldie in the group here, but I've had a lot of experience going back 20 years now. So I had my surgeries around 2015, and there was absolutely no supports in Ireland at the time. And I was so grateful then when the Marie Keating Foundation set up the peer-to-peer, and immediately, because I had no support, I felt, oh gosh, you know, this is what I need to do. And so you know, it's a difficult journey. And I think we all need support, and I think it's fantastic that we have this great group of women, and also on the WhatsApp group as well. And it's grown now, I think, to about 80, I think, or more. I could be wrong, but we're all here to support each other. And yeah, so that's been my journey. So
Hi everyone, my name is Emer. I only found out in 2022 that I had a BRCA2 alteration with a very poor history of ovarian cancer in my family. I spent a long time trying to get tested, but without a living relative with the disease it wasn't possible. So I had my actually ovarian surgery prior to knowing I had BRCA2 7 or 8 years ago. And then when I found out I had it, I then had the breast surgery. So I have 4 daughters, and the reason I'm here, partly when I think about them, finding out one way or another whether they are positive or not, that there will be people like us here that they can talk to, and they won't feel, you know, you feel so overwhelmed, it's all consuming when you find out, and it's so good to have someone who understood, and that's why I decided to do this.
Hi, I'm Magella, and I was diagnosed with a BRCA2 alteration. So this time last year, this weekend, I was getting ready to go into my mastectomy, my mastectomy and reconstructive surgery. It's wonderful to be able to be here today, get on a train and travel to Cork. It's actually my first time in Cork. I studied in Cork for 3 years as a social worker. So it was lovely to get off the train this morning and walk through the streets of Cork up here to meet BRCA people in one room. I'm here because, again, like everybody else, when I was faced with the news that I had a BRCA gene, I didn't know where to look to, and my sister found the Marie Keating information on a website, and I was linked up with Lisa, who met me and was very inspiring. So much so, she inspired me too much today, as I ended up traveling to 14 countries after I met her. And she told me, like, just to see her come out the other side of it, I realized, look, I want to get something positive out of this. So I did travel, and I'm in great form, and I've come out the other side. And if it can help anybody else to do the same, I would love to do that. So yeah, and just to thank everybody for Marie Keating, and also, like earlier, just yourself down there, I forget your name, the nurse, just the people like that who get forgotten sometimes when you're out the other side, who we meet you so briefly when we come in for appointments, but you're the first point of contact. And the experience, even listening to you this morning, if I was a patient, I said to Emer, going in to meet you, my day would be so much nicer, because it means so much not to be just a number or a statistic or a piece of data, but to have that human. And I think that's what Marie Keating provides. And sometimes you don't get enough of that in the hospital. But if I met someone like you, I honestly would really make a difference. So thanks very much to all the people who work behind the scenes to help people like us to sit up here and survive this disease. So thank you.
All the icing on the cake, all the icing on the cake. We're going to see if we can get Melissa loud enough to say hello. My computer, Fiona might need to hear. Melissa, we're going to see if we can get the speakers up to the last. Fiona, I need your help. I can just about work my own computer if I'm not. Did you get up to the last? Yeah. Okay. So, introducing Melissa. Melissa, do you want to say hello to everyone? Probably not going to happen. I don't think. Melissa, they can just the sound isn't brilliant, but yeah, people can hear you. But Melissa, thank you so much. And do you mind if I reiterate a little bit, Melissa, because I couldn't hear you fully down at the end of the room? Yeah. Melissa is actually one of our first peer support volunteers. They've been with us since the very beginning. And as Melissa said, she chose flat closure, not to have other types of reconstruction. Flat closure is now, it's also caused it's a type of reconstruction. So just give you a little bit of info from Melissa as well. And thank you so much, Melissa. Melissa is dialing in from Dublin. Couldn't be here today. Okay, Melissa? Okay. So thank you so much. That's really good. And just so you know, again, like if anybody wants to avail of the service, do go into the BRCA page on our website. Like the girls are fantastic. We have missing today. We've got Sarah over here and Sarah Donovan over in the corner there, and we have Francine Costello down here, and we have Maria in the middle, Maria Elliott. So we do have 10 peers, and they're volunteering their time, like to do this. So a big thank you, a big clap for the girls. Yeah. So I think we're ahead, which is quite good. And next, we are going to have, while the girls are getting the table sorted here, we're going to have a really nice session now where we're going to have Maria Elliott, genetic counsellor, in conversation with two of our peers, with Lisa McElwaine and with Jean O'Neill. And they're going to really have a chat together about the psychological impact of a BRCA alteration on Lisa and Jean themselves, on their families, on their friends. So looking at the personal perspective. So I'm going to give a general introduction, but then the girls will introduce themselves, okay? And I'll hand over the mic then as well. So Maria Duff is a registered genetic counsellor based in Cork University Hospital. They stole her from Dublin. She was with us in Dublin, isn't that right, Maria? And you're getting a really good genetic counsellor. She's doing fantastic. So, and I think, Maria, I'm just going to say one line. I'm going to let you to do all the rest. So, 2023, Maria didn't just come down here. She also set up and helped run a pilot project for a diagnostic cancer genetic counselling and testing for both BRCA and Lynch in Cork University Hospital. So, Maria, I think it's best if you take over because it's better you to tell everybody about yourself. So maybe if I give back this, And girls, unfortunately, so we don't get another bang, we'll get you sharing the mic. Is that okay? So we'll let Maria finish her own introduction. You're not nervous, you're fine.
The microphone. Great, so it's lovely to be here today. I'm a genetic cancer and I moved to Cork, and last year we set up a pilot project, and very much like Trina said with the NCCP, the plan is that regionally you should have better access to services. And we really just jumped on this in Cork. That's what Cork people like to do. And we set up a pilot project. So we were able to identify people with a new diagnosis of cancer who are at risk of being a BRCA or a Lynch carrier. And we were able to offer fast access to genetic counselling and testing in CUH. So our goal was that everyone should get in and be seen by 12 weeks, but everyone was actually offered an appointment within 4 weeks. So we're delighted to say we're now embedding it as a clinical service in the South-Southwest region, and we're moving to offer predictive testing for family members who are at risk of being a BRCA 1 or 2 carrier in the South-Southwest region. So I'm not saying Cork is the best, but as we're in Cork, I might gently allude to it. And I suppose when I'm chatting to patients as a genetic cancer about their family history, about what it might mean to be a BRCA carrier, what you'll be offered, I suppose the longer I do the job, the more I think, when people say, what would you do, or what do other people do? I think it's so personal. It's so personal in terms of your family, in terms of your own coping skills, in terms of your resilience, in terms of if you have kids, if you don't have kids. And I think, this session, not bigging us up, but I think this is going to be great because, just hearing how other people have coped, some of it will resonate with people. Some bits you'll be thinking, well, I wouldn't do what that she's done. But I think just hearing what other people do is so important, and so important to us when we're trying to develop the service to support you better. So I'm really looking forward to today. I'm going to pass you over to Jean.
Thanks. Yeah, so there I am. So like I said, I'm 37. I'm living in Kilkenny at the moment, and I found out when I was 30, so about 7 years ago now. There was a strong history of breast cancer on my mother's side. So my mother had had breast cancer 3 times when I went for genetic testing. So obviously she went first, and then I went. I'm an only child, so there was nobody else in our family unit to be tested. 2 of my mom's sisters were tested and they weren't carriers. And she has a brother and sister who haven't been tested. So I did screening for a number of years in James's and never had any diagnosis in that time. But I had large, dense breasts. I had a lot of hormonal cysts and glue cysts. So I moved then to 6 monthly MRIs. I was getting callbacks from every appointment, then having biopsies, ultrasounds, and sometimes mammograms, and it just became very onerous on my life. Then when I was 34, my mother was diagnosed for the 4th time with cancer of the peritoneum, which is the lining of the abdomen. She'd had an oophorectomy, so she'd had her ovaries removed, but the consultant thought that it had originated in her ovaries. She did make a full recovery, so that was obviously brilliant. But I at that stage decided that I'd have the preventative mastectomy, and I did that in November 21. So I have been attending James. I'm supposed to make this brief, sorry. I have been attending James's, but at that stage, I'm not really sure if they were offering mastectomies, but if I wanted a reconstruction, I'd have to wait 2 years. So I didn't really favour that option. I was referred to a private hospital for a second opinion. I was referred in April 21. The appointment came through in December 21, and I'd already had the mastectomy in Beaumont. I work in the Royal College of Surgeons, so I sometimes feel embarrassed saying this, and my mother's always like, there's nothing embarrassing about it, but I arranged the mastectomy myself through the head of the School of Medicine, Arnie Hill. But I'm in a very unusual position, and most people won't have that option, and I just think it's important to highlight that the waiting lists are at a stage where,
it's just so unfair, and I feel embarrassed saying it because I was able to have, you know, a very kind of seamless surgery. But anyway, this is my 3rd year being a BRCA peer support volunteer. And like I said earlier, I really do get so much out of it. You know, I suppose, you know, I think BRCA is something, you know, you learn to live with. You have your ups and downs with it, but I like to think of it that it's just something playing in the background of your life. And actually, Susan said something earlier that really stuck with me, that it's a diagnosis of risk. It's not a diagnosis of cancer. And I think that's a really good way to look at it, a really good way to frame it, because sometimes you automatically think, oh, this will happen, or, you know, but I just think it's something you can learn to live with, you know, over time.
So I got diagnosed with breast cancer in January 2020. I was 45. I have 3 children. Sean is now 24, Connor is 21, and Ella is 16. So that was just before COVID. I had a lumpectomy in February, and then in 3rd of April 2020, right at COVID, I started chemotherapy. And I was on my own. I had to go to every chemo session on my own. I had to do all my radiation on my own. And thankfully, under my oncologist, my genius oncologist, she knew there was a family history. So my mom is from a big family. She's one of 13, 8 brothers and 5 girls. And out of the 8 brothers, 5 had prostate cancer. One had passed away, and my cousin was diagnosed with breast cancer at 29. And I knew she was BRCA. I knew that she was on her stage. I think it was her 3rd diagnosis of cancer had gone to her brain. And I knew she was BRCA, and she was very sick when I was sick, and I'm uneducated. She never shared the information with our family. But my oncologist, obviously being a genius, as the job they do, she knew the BRCA was in her family. So to tick all the boxes, she asked me to go for genetic testing, which I did. And the January 21 after COVID, I was diagnosed with BRCA2. And it hit our family, which I'll talk about later on. I'm here today to, you know, try and enlighten people of what I went through personally at that time and where I am today and how my family is. So I'll pass you back to you.
Right, so hopefully we'll run through a few questions, and hopefully, you know, you get to share and jump in. So Jean, I'm going to start because you're closest. So just often people say, you know, what was the first thing when you got your results? Like, how did that feel like? And, you know, what was that moment like for you?
I think, like, I got tested very close to when my mom got tested, and I was really, really upset when she got her results and she was a carrier. But I think when I got it, I was just quite numb and didn't really, like, I suppose, understand the impact of my life. I probably felt a bit hard done by, to be honest, as well. You know, it was like 50-50. I think I wasn't really prepared for a positive result. And that's not to discourage people from going forward from testing, but I probably had only thought about a positive or the opposite of positive, not being a carrier. I'd only really thought of that outcome. So yeah, I think I was just very numb and very unsure of what lay ahead.
Yeah, so I had to go for the hour-long appointment on my own. The genetic counsellor had got our family history, so they could see that it was quite highly likely that I would be diagnosed with the BRCA gene. My dad was waiting downstairs, and when it was described to me what BRCA actually meant and where it came from, I was completely floored. It was worse than being diagnosed with breast cancer. I just felt like, oh my God, like, what's going to happen with my children? I'm 50-50 chance of passing this on. how can we get this out of our family? All these questions were flowing out and the tears were flowing, and my counsellor was amazing, and he tried to reassure me as best he could to the questions I was trying to get out, even though I couldn't really speak. And like my main focus at that minute was not even about my mum and the family, my children. But now, like a couple of years on, but since my diagnosis and I passed that letter on to my match family, we've had 20 tests in the family and there's 18 was positive. So I have helped like a good few of my family so far, which I'm very grateful to be doing. And you know, don't be afraid. It is hard news, but at least knowledge is power, and you can do something about it. So we'll pass on to the next one. Is that on the whiteboard?
Yeah, both are working.
Is it working?
Yeah, yeah, that one is working.
If I just, you know, so interesting, like when you describe being numb and you just describe being like floored, was that in any way how you expected to react in that moment?
It was kind of only listening to Lisa when she actually talked about when you actually got the results. Like I got it over the phone, and I remember going into the bathroom and work and taking the calls. That probably didn't help the emotional kind of impact being suppressed. But like I went back to work then, you know what I mean, and just kind of pretended like life was normal. But yeah, I just think I wasn't really prepared probably. You know, I think that's probably an important thing when you go forward for the testing, that you are prepared for both outcomes.
And that's so interesting is the genetic cancer, because often I say to people now, if I ring you and if it's not a good time, then you tell me. And I don't think anyone ever does, you know, I'm pulling in on the M50 or,
Yeah,
you know.
you just want to know,
You
really,
just
you
want
know
to
what I
know.
mean? So yeah,
It's not ideal.
no, and like I think it was like it was Michael Farrell, who's like he's a genetic counselling nurse, and he's like absolutely lovely. So it was nothing to do with him. It's just the information isn't easy.
Right. And yourself, Lisa?
Well, my testing was done in the November of 2020. So I didn't want the news before Christmas, and I was quite adamant with my counsellor, please don't give me this news before Christmas. We're going to celebrate me being cancer free. And Owen Canny said, oh Lisa, look, I'm going to be changing jobs in January, and I'd really like it for me to give you the news. Anyway, it turns out it didn't come before Christmas. But what happened to us as a family was COVID, and unfortunately we lost my dad on the 6th of January from COVID. And sitting in the funeral home with my sister, I got the email to say my results were ready. And that was hard, because I then had to make the phone call and say, look, I can't take these results at the moment. But I got the strength up about 2 days after my dad's funeral, and I got the results that I was positive. And I got an answer as to why I got breast cancer. And that's the way I look at it now. I had to take the positive out. That's what I took out of my results, and I'm alive.
Lisa, that's so hard.
Yeah.
And then I suppose, you know, once you got your results, Jean, if I go to you, did you feel there was support there? So once you had the results, what happened after? Was there support?
No, I don't think so. I think that was kind of, you know, like that's kind of where your interaction with the genetic counselling kind of ends, is after the result, or it did at least in my case, and then I was referred into James's. But I think once I found out I was carrying the gene mutation, myself and my mom signed up for which was the first BRCA conference. And when I went to that conference, my mom was the only person I knew in the world, well, apart from Angelina Jolie, but don't know her personally. But like my mother was the only person I knew who had the gene. So like to even be in the room with all these other people who had the gene, like, was amazing. Like there's just this really kind of challenging kinship between us, but at the same time we were all in the same boat. And I've said this like loads of times, but like Aisling, who's here today, spoke at that conference, and I actually felt like there was somebody you know, who I could relate to, someone who understood me, or I at least understood where they were. We were in a similar position, kind of similar age, you know, so the support outside of Marie Keating for me was non-existent. I did join some Facebook groups kind of when I was looking for support, but didn't, you know, some Facebook groups aren't really moderated very well, so some of the information was a bit difficult. So no, you know, there wasn't any support for me beyond Marie Keating, but at least that support was there, you know.
And I think you hit upon like an excellent point, is that when you're accessing support, just making sure that it's moderated, like the Marie Keating is moderated, it's careful, it's good, it's accurate, whereas you can go on Dr. Google, as we like to call it, and you can get lots of people telling you things that mightn't be true, or they mightn't be relevant for Ireland. So, you know, seeking support that's appropriate is so important. And Lisa, yourself, to you know, support for you, where did you find your support?
So obviously on my journey during COVID, there was no support, it was all online. So my phone became my best friend, and I, unknown to myself, I'd signed up and registered with the Marie Keating Survive and Thrive, which is an 8-week program after your cancer diagnosis. So good old Helen gave me my counselor, gave me an hour or more phone call the week I got diagnosed with BRCA, all that same week. And she taught me to do the Survive and Thrive, which I did. And it was the best 8 weeks of my life. I actually did the last week from my hospital bed after having a full hysterectomy. That's how important it was for me. So at I quickly got, I just knew in my head, I have to have a hysterectomy, I have to have a double mastectomy. And if I could have had both of them on the same day, I would have. That's not possible. So I have to say I did get support. But I know, like, I'm from a big family. My cousins aren't getting that same support. So everyone is different. But I did get support. So yeah.
It's great to hear when there's support there. And just, I suppose, often the moment a person has their test result, they think of them, but they straight away think of their kids. And you mentioned your 3 beautiful children. How did you find telling your kids about your test results?
Well, it's because of COVID, my kids became back into our family unit. Like Sean was only 21 and Connor was 17, so you know, at 21 you're like living your life, and so they were all back home, and they seen me going through absolutely everything and how upset I was. And then when the BRCA testing came and how distraught I was, they actually thought my cancer was back. So I had to tell them, we had to tell them as a family that it was a genetic testing and not cancer. So they've been with me from the get-go of my journey. Like my daughter did this project in her TY, which she got an award for in school. And that's all her own knowledge, just from listening to me and obviously doing what I'm doing and being very involved with the Marie Keating Foundation. My middle fella, Connor, he's like a hypochondriac. I think he just thinks every lump of bone is cancer. I have had a lot of advice from like one of my breast surgeon and my oncologist, probably not to get him tested because there's not much he can do at 21. Surveillance wise, it'll just be, if it is a positive, it'll just be another worry. If it's a negative, it'll be great, but you have to weigh up which is more important. So yeah, it's cost me a fortune getting the mammograms, and like you have a lump in the back of the neck on your recently needs to get that checked out. It's nothing, it's absolutely nothing, but that's what I have to do with him. And Sean he's fine at the moment. But I suppose until we want to start a family, that's the next thing we'll have to face, is what do we do there and what do we advise them to do. Yeah.
And just your daughter's presentation is beautiful, and it's not everyone at that age who's presenting at a national conference. So yeah, something great to pop on.
You wanted to come.
But you know, it's a great point that people react differently, and I think sometimes people forget that when you're found to have a high risk gene, that you're thinking of you, but you're worrying sometimes about your kids more, and it's an extra stress, and the support is so needed.
Yeah.
And I suppose, Jean, you were in a slightly different way both because you don't have family, and you know, how did the result impact on you not having a family as yet?
Children, yes, yeah, like it's challenging. And I was kind of thinking, as I was looking at the questions earlier, and I was like trying to think about it, and I was like, well, I'm 37, I'm single, I was in a long-term relationship which didn't work out, and that is, you know, that's just life. So if I was 37 and wasn't a BRCA carrier, I'd probably still be a bit concerned about children. You know, children is something that I would like, whether that's, you know, in my plan or not, I don't know as of yet. But I think BRCA definitely adds like an added pressure to that. And I suppose as well, kind of like it's something else you're bringing forward into dating as well, you know what I mean? So like it's kind of, you know, multi-layered. But as regards children, I think I used to attend a gynecologist in James's, and I won't name them, don't worry. And every appointment he was like, have you kids yet? Are you married yet? When are you you know, when are you planning on having kids? And I want to take your ovaries at 35, and I used to be in this really ridiculous negotiation about my own ovaries with somebody. But anyway, thankfully I don't see him anymore. And but I did have an appointment in March with a gynecologist in Beaumont, and he was, you know, the most empathetic I've ever had. And he was kind of like, look, we need to make a plan. If you still, you know, if you think you were going to want to have kids at some point, we're going to, you know, you need to start kind of putting a plan in place. And he was like, kind of 40 is still, you know, the number he'd have in mind. But, you know, I'm going to go forward and have my eggs frozen and just kind of see whether the children may come, or child may come before the ovaries are removed or after. Which, yes, it does. It kind of brings an added pressure, but I think the age is probably a pressure as well. So I can't just, this is something I can't fully blame on BRCA.
No, thanks. No, it's an amazing answer. And, you know, I think such a stressful time when, you know, you are going to appointments and being told the best practice is a surgery option, you're just thinking, well, it's not appropriate for my life as it is.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone has to navigate it for themselves. So, you know, really, really helpful. And Lisa, you know, if I pop back to you there, just, you know, often we're thinking about, I suppose, like you were mentioning, I mentioned family in terms of kids, and you're like, well, you know, I have a family and that's so important. But, you know, in terms of the wider family, apart from your kids, how did finding out you're a gene carrier impact the whole shebang?
I suppose that my mom's a huge family. As I said, 1 in 13, and I'd say between cousins, second cousins, and third cousins, it's about 150 of us maybe. So it's huge family, and my uncle got off the starting blocks because he's 3 daughters, and one of his daughters had got not cancer, but did have something going on, and he went and got tested. So he was positive. His eldest girl, Lorraine, she went, she's positive. His next girl went, she's positive. His third girl went, she's positive. And his grandson went, and he's positive. So that's just in one family. And then Mikey, he got diagnosed with prostate cancer last year. So look, at least the hospital were aware. But like some of my cousins are still waiting to be tested since me. And like it's so frustrating, and it's like they will do it, like, and hopefully the testing will come along soon. And they don't have to wait on a parent now, which is good, because we have such a high risk in the family. But then they have to wait then like on the surveillance, and that's another way. So I don't know, I just feel lucky. You know, I do feel lucky sitting here today and telling my story and trying to help people. So that's why I'm passionate about doing what I do.
Such a huge family impact. And, you know, I think sometimes when you're the first person to have the test, then you see the huge rollout.
Yeah, I wasn't the first one. That, you know, that's why if my husband had to give us the letter 3 years ago before I got cancer, I could be sitting here with just surveillance.
And that's such a good point, because
Yeah.
sometimes people are reluctant to share, and,
Yeah.
you know, they're encouraged by clinical teams to share, but you know, sometimes people just feel it won't be welcome news, when you just think it's so important
Yeah.
to just tell your relatives. And
And what they do with it then, like you can't do anything about that because.
absolutely
Yeah.
up to them.
Yeah.
And Jean, for yourself, the same, just, you know, the BRCA implication, you know, alteration impacting the family, how did it feel in your family?
So like I said, I was an only child, so it was only me. And then my mom passed it to her three sisters, the letter to, you know, and spoke to her three sisters and her brother about it, and her sister and brother decided not to get tested. Her sister doesn't have kids, and her brother's in Australia, and he just decided not to deal with it. That was fine. Two sisters, well, the two other sisters both had kids, and they were both negative. But they actually didn't, they went and got tested, but they never like shared the results until my mom asked them, and they, you know, I suppose they felt kind of guilt and shame around not being carriers, you know. And like, obviously I was happy that they weren't, but like, it was a bit, you know, envious of like their kids who wouldn't have to kind of go through the whole process. Obviously, I'm happy that my cousins aren't, but you know, it is kind of that weird position. But it's kind of a taboo subject in our family because it's only mom that has it. So we think that it was inherited from the father, who was predeceased. And my grandmother is still alive, but she doesn't know it's in the family. So like, I went off and had a mastectomy and missed her birthday party, and she was like giving out that I wasn't there, and like she was kind of like, what's more important than my birthday, you know? So I was like, well, so, but she obviously didn't know about surgery, so like, you know, that was understandable. But so it's funny how different it is. Like, you know, in Lee's family, it's, you know, it's a very bigger family, but it's more widespread. Our family, it's really only myself and my mom, you know, from her side. She passed letters to her dad's brothers and sisters who were still alive, and her cousins, but there was never any discussion about whether they went for testing or not.
And it's so interesting, like some families share a lot, and some families share very little, and it's so tricky how to navigate that in terms of sharing with family. And I suppose apart from family, if you think of friends, you know, Lisa, in terms of your friends, you know, when you were chatting to them straight off, like, did they understand what your result meant, or how did those chats go?
I have a lot of pockets of friends, and I got so much support all through my journey. But then I got a lot of non-support, and I got a lot of jealous. Well, I got a couple of jealous friends who put me into rock bottom and pushed me to one side when I was probably getting attention, if I want to call it, because I got breast cancer and because I'm now BRCA, and my journey kept growing and growing, and I was getting probably a bit of attention, if you want to call it that way. They're not in my life anymore. So I was told at the start of my journey, you will know exactly who your friends are by the end of it. And by God, I do know who my friends are. And I have lots of lovely friends who are very understanding and mind me, as well as my colleagues in work who mind me. Because there's a lot of minding to people who've had double mastectomies, and you have to be careful with different things. And you know, if we're going away on the weekend, like I won't let me live my case, say, or you know, little things. Yeah. So yeah, I've navigated it quite well, and I've pushed away those who weren't supporting me. So and you have to, because they only bring you down, and that's what happened to me because of the Marie Keating Foundation and the support I got. They brought me back up again. So I gave me back my confidence.
Okay, and with the friends who keep, like, would you feel, you know, because you've been through such a testing time, your friendships are stronger with the people who
Oh,
stuck with you?
absolutely. Like, you know, I just had my 50th birthday, and everybody who knows me on social media will know the different days I had and weekends away with all my different friends. And I think that every group of them love me the same way. Yeah. So, it's like even down to my family, like when I got diagnosed first, I had a BRCA party to try and encourage them all to, let's not be afraid of this and embrace it. And I think as a family, it brought us all together, be it BRCA, but and we are supporting each other. We have a big WhatsApp now and we're all in this together.
I have never heard of the BRCA. Trademark that really quick to get onto it, but it sounds fabulous. I think having support is so important, and it must be lovely to feel they're all behind you.
Yeah.
And Jean, just for yourself, just in terms of your friendship group, did they understand BRCA in the first place?
Probably not, like, because I suppose I was 30 when I was tested, so like it's a good few years ago, we were probably a bit more carefree at that stage, and so some of them probably thought it was like it's nearly cancer kind of thing. As time has gone on, like you said, like the ones that are really there for you will be. Like when I had the mastectomy, I kind of kept it quite tight. Like I didn't really share it with a lot of people, and then someone said it to someone and it kind of became a talking point, and that was annoying. And there was a girl kind of talking about it, like who would be a friend kind of on the periphery, but like I texted her about it and was kind of like, you just keep it to yourself, like, because people in my family didn't know I'd had it, so, and she said something like, I didn't realize it was private. Like, all right, I wouldn't like to think of what you do think is private, but yeah, so like I would have got good support from my friends. I think like I think some just don't understand. They probably understand that you have a risk of developing cancer. They can get their heads around that. They probably don't understand the impact of it on your life, and how many appointments, when you're going through screening and, pre-surgery and post-surgery and all that, like how many appointments, things like that. They understand to an extent. I did get good support, which, this kind of, I just talked to Gertie Emer, I think, out there, and she was saying, like, how many times do you explain, so you kind of just say, oh, look, I had this appointment today, and do you talk about it or not? That's kind of up to you and up to who you're talking to. But yeah, I definitely did have good support, but it's kind of hard to understand, I think, unless you're in that situation.
Even like on results, you have that scan anxiety, and it's not you as a person. So unless you have good friends around you that you might be having a bad day, and then now you're waiting on your results of your CT or your MRI or whatever, like, to understand that and the support that you need if you are going to be in a bad mood or whatever, that they will be there for you. Just go for the walk or coffee or whatever it may be, and stop you thinking. So yeah,
Absolutely. And just that the journey keeps going on. So you can talk about it this week, but next week you're still going to be going for a screening appointment, and work will have to let you off, and it is something for your life to be keeping an eye on. And just, I suppose, Trina mentioned the various plans and the hereditary cancer model of care. So if I was to ask you, Lisa, if you could, you've an endless amount of money, what would you like to see provided in terms of psychological support coming out of that plan?
Well, I suppose when you get your news, being a BRCA carrier or whatever, like you get your phone call from a genetic counsellor, and then they give you consultants' names for your hysterectomy and your mastectomy, and then you're sort of left on your own. There's no check back to see how you're getting on. Have you got your appointment? Did you have your surgery? Like, even if you're able to reach back into the genetic counsellor, well, I don't think the system works like that. So if there was a follow-up, just to check in with you, even now after having you know, and just seeing how you're getting on, or how your children are, or how the testing's going in your family. You know, like to knit it all together. Because like my cousins, yeah, they have the results, but they're waiting now. So,
Absolutely, and I think the health services, we're probably very bad at that, like, you know, like you see Dermot this morning, amazing, but you know, gynae's her thing, and then your breast surgery's her
Yeah.
thing, and you know, it doesn't join up as well.
no, so like, you know, my gynae was different. Now thankfully I had all my surgeries in the one hospital, which was a good thing. So I had a good nursing team and they knew me coming in and out. But I do think there should be a checkup, maybe, you know, to see how you're doing. Yeah.
And I think, you know, as a genetic cancer, like we're not designed for long-term psychological support, but I think it's something we'd always love to do. You know, there's more patients and less time than ever, but it's definitely a need.
Yeah.
And Jean, for yourself, what would you like to see in terms of psychological support?
Well, I think probably at the point where you're like, you know, after you've got your genetic test results, when you're linked into a hospital, I think at that point, you know, counselling or, you know, so like psychological support in the hospital would be worthwhile, because it's a massive, like whatever way you look at it, it's a massive trauma to your life when you find out the news. You don't know what's ahead. You know, you may have quite negative thoughts on it. I think you're kind of just thrown into the deep end where you start screening, and there isn't any support or counselling. You know, yes, you will have spoken to your genetic counsellor and you've got your results, but you know, personally, I think you may need like actual counselling services. I know at the time when my mom got her last cancer diagnosis, I contacted ARC, and I got 6 free sessions. And I have checked, and they do offer a number of free sessions to BRCA carriers. You don't have to have had a cancer diagnosis. And you know, if anyone's looking for support, I definitely recommend them. You know, I've had counselling in parts of, you know, my life at different stages, and I found it hugely beneficial. And it's also, I think it's also good to be able to get a perspective from someone outside of your friends or your family, who can give you kind of unbiased advice. And it is something that is going to take work to navigate through when you do get diagnosed as a BRCA carrier. And like, it shouldn't be something that we're precluded by money as to whether we can go for, you know, counselling privately. So that's where I think there is really a big gap. Like, I know we've spoken about it previously, that before you go for your mastectomy, and I'm not sure about oophorectomy, you do see a psychologist to, you know, to assess whether you're suitable. Like, I didn't have that, but like at that, like that's not the point, that you may need to see a psychologist really. Like, you know, I think there's support needed, especially at the time when you find out first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bernie's given me the smell. She's stood up now, so it's no longer stopping. So I think I'll take that my cue potentially to pass back to Bernie. Is that, yeah.
I think it's happening. Thank you so much. Like, it's hard enough, you know, living with that story, living with the BRCA and BRCA alteration, and sit up here and to tell everybody. So, you know, well done. Thank you so much, and well done to your And as you know, Dr. Elaine Lowry has to stand out the front to talk about her research into the psychological impacts of a BRCA alteration. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to keep the boat floating and bring our CEO up here to say a few words. I'll move the slide on. There we go.
Thank you, Bernie. I have the nice job of saying thank you to everybody who's come along today. What a day we've had. It has just been absolutely so uplifting, so informative, so inspirational. I think the mission of the Marie Keating Foundation is to make cancer less frightening by enlightening. And I think the lineup of speakers who we had today, you know, certainly enlightened us today. We learned so much about the different stages of the BRCA pathway, the BRCA journey. We heard such amazing information today from all our specialists. Thank you so much, Susan. I think you're the only one who's still in the room from this morning, but you know, to have the range of healthcare specialists who look after us so well, and to see how the services have so improved over the number of years. Like Helen and I will remember when we organised our very first BRCA conference. I think it's about 8 years ago now. I know this is our 7th one. We did have a gap year with COVID, but at that time there was absolutely nothing available in Ireland. And actually it was a BRCA carrier, Roisin Prizeman, who approached us to ask us if we could provide some kind of support service for BRCA carriers. And of course, because we run on a shoestring at the Marie Keating Foundation, we kind of said, oh, we'd love to, but we need some funding. And we were able to pull together, I think AstraZeneca and MSD, we approached at that time, and they have stuck with us every year since. Without their support, we would not be able to run this annual seminar. And over the years, we've been able to delve into different topics, looking at men, looking at different aspects of the BRCA journey, and we've gone from the conference then to develop the peer-to-peer support service, the WhatsApp group, and we want to do a lot more because this community is so important. And I feel very, very proud that as an organisation, we are able to provide supports to BRCA carriers, because I know there is so little available, unfortunately, in Ireland. But things have come a long, long way, and I know it's not perfect, and I know the waiting times are still appalling. I know there's a lot of inequities in the system in terms of testing, in terms of treatment, but there is hope. The NCCP are recognising that there is a plan in place, and I do think the future will be brighter. A special word of thanks to all the peer-to-peer supporters who talked about their own journeys today. And I know there's Aisling and Nikki and others in the room as well who have been peer-to-peer volunteers in the past. You know, for you to be the first point of contact to somebody who's just received news that they're a BRCA carrier, and for you to be able to bring them and take that fear out of what's ahead of them, and by sharing your story, just means so much. And it's a massive commitment. And just to say a very, very special thank you to all of you for that. It's giving so much of yourselves. To all the team at the Marie Keating Foundation who are here today and those who are not, but I feel very proud to be your colleague. So Jane, Lisa, and Lisa is our special BRCA colleague. We had to hook her in when she attended our Survive and Thrive, and we heard her story. We had to hook her in, and Lisa, you'll never be let go. Helen, our Director of Nursing, Liz and Anya are two of our nurses who are here today as well. Fiona, who does so much in organising the group and coordinating everything. Jane, who does everything in terms of promoting the team, all our communications, promoting our events. And Bernie, who is the lead on our BRCA services and ensures that it runs well, it meets the needs, and we'll keep it going and we continue to grow it. So well done to everybody. And to all of you who came along today, we were thrilled to see so many people registering when we came out of Dublin. It's absolutely lovely to be out of Dublin and to be down in Cork. We are hoping to put on a Breast Reconstruction Awareness Day in October. We've done that a number of years, and specifically looking at different types of prophylactic risk-reducing surgery, and bringing in different specialists from different hospitals around the country, looking at the different techniques. I thought Jemima did an amazing job today in overviewing the different types of breast reconstructions. But you know, it's depending on where you're living, you know, and we would like to introduce you to other surgeons, and also the women who do the show and tell as well, which is amazing, you know, for them to share the different types of reconstruction that they have had. So it's the weekend. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I hope you got a lot out of today. We keep in touch. The Marie Keating Foundation offers lots of other services. So for those of you who have cancer or might have other family members who have cancer, we provide a range of other support services. So do go on to our website and see how we can support you further. But without further ado, I'll hand over to Helen, who's going to, I suppose, allow us all to decompress a little bit before we finally take our leave for the weekend. So thank you, everybody.
And of course, we want to say a very special thank you to the Yeates too for keeping us all together and for being here today and being the big, digging deep in pockets. Because we need that, don't we, in order to do something like this today. So thank you so much, Liz, for being our leader. So I know everybody is feeling very tired and exhausted. It's been a wonderful day. Thank you, Bernie, for all that you've done today.
Didn't do it alone.
I suppose what I would like to do is maybe dim the room a little bit, if that's okay.
You tell me that was my job.
Before you sit down. And just to, I suppose, reflect a little bit on what we have been through today. I lit some candles. We weren't allowed to light real candles, but candles can be quite symbolic for us at the Marie Keating Foundation. Because it is a symbol for us of I suppose healing and remembrance and hope. And I hope everybody leaves the room today with hope in their minds. So it's important that we'll take on board everything that we have learned today. There's been a lot of knowledge. There's been a lot of expertise in the room. And it has been a little bit overwhelming for some people. Emma, you said there earlier on, you know, you felt overwhelmed, you know, like when you were diagnosed first. And that's the truth of it, isn't it? It's overwhelming, but nonetheless, Lisa, you said knowledge is power. Yeah, and knowledge in this room is enormous, but you do need it in order to make very difficult decisions. And in those decisions, I mean, the treatments that you choose for risk reducing, you know, cancer related, I suppose ovarian, breast, you know, they're hard decisions to make, they're difficult decisions, and they do have an effect. So what I would say is, you know, we need to heal, and we all need to heal in that space. There is loss. There is loss of womanhood. Sometimes there's loss of, you know, childlessness. There's loss of motherhood. There's a lot of losses, and we often talk about those as hidden losses because they're not talked about so much. But there's also loss of loved ones in the room. You know, we've talked about this is a hereditary cancer in most cases. There's a lot of, you know, family loss. There's a lot of loss from friends. So we acknowledge that. And I suppose without further ado, I want to bring you into your own space because we will be leaving very, very shortly. So I'm going to take you out of the, I suppose, the space where we have been in the horizon. So I'd invite you to close your eyes down if you want to, and just get very comfortable and take these few moments just to relax before we go home. So make yourselves aware of your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair, your back supported by the chair, and just relax into the space for a moment. So for us in this moment, our quality of presence is important to our quality of doing as we go forward. So let's connect with ourselves and be aware of our breath coming into your body and your breath leaving your body. Just be aware of it. Knowing that connecting with our breath allows us to connect with the whole being, and this allows us to connect with our own natural rhythm. Be aware of your breath in and your breath out. This also helps us to be a change to our family or the person we are supporting when we are working or being with them. So become aware of balancing your breath in with your out breath. Maybe counting to 4 or 5 on your in breath and the same on your out breath.
So breathing in completely and breathing out completely so that you do feel a little decompressed. And it's like a wave coming in and a wave going out. So just become aware of your feet on the ground and being supported by the earth. If it helps, imagine out of your feet, you have roots that are gone all the way down, down, down to the core of the earth, grasping around boundaries, grounding you and your journey home and the messages you take away from today. Then up through those roots, up, 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 into the soles of your heart, into the soles of your feet. There is earth energy going into your feet, your legs, and your body. Just imagine now from the back of your heart, a thread or a beam of light going up, up, up into the sky, very gently pulling you up, and you now feel your back and your spine lengthening and your chest opening as you are sitting a bit taller in the chair. And again, just become aware of your breath coming into your body and your breath leaving your body. Just imagine that beam or that thread looping around the star and coming back down, down, down into the front of your heart. And with it, it is bringing energy and compassion for yourself and for others. Really breathe in that compassion into your heart space. Now that heart space is about compassion for yourselves. Connecting with your heart is the desire and what is important for you about your purpose. Bringing your attention now to your head, up to your head space, to your head brain. It is about your creativity, your knowledge, your knowing, your perception, your understanding. Really connecting in with your head, with all your head brain has to offer you. Really breathing into that space and bringing your awareness back down to your head again. Just breathing in that compassion for yourself and for others, and becoming aware of your breath in and out. Bringing your awareness now into your gut, really connecting in with your courage. Your courage sits in your gut brain. Your courage to take the steps forward that you want to take in your life. The courage to manage the boundaries to take care of yourself, because it's in our gut that self-preservation is, as well as the courage to step forward, really breathing in and out in that space. And then bringing your awareness back up now to your heart space, breathing in that compassion for others, knowing that we are doing the best that we can do with the reservations that we have every moment. Now, just taking a moment in your own mind to get a real sense of the alignment of your head and your heart and your gut, really sensing it in your head, your heart and your gut. Your alignment to be true to you, to your whole self, as you step into the evening ahead of you. And now just taking a moment to acknowledge all the things in your life that you're grateful for, and acknowledging to yourself you're safe and you're going to be nourished in different ways today, and trusting that you're not going to be under threat by anyone or anything. The world is a friendly place. Finally, just acknowledging that people that you are connected to extend love to and receive love from you in return. And just really looking into that you are loved, feeling that gratitude and a sense of contentment, safety, peace, and connection. So in your thoughts, take a moment now to set out your aspirations for the days and weeks ahead. What it is that you want to breathe into life. Who will you be today? Who are you today? And who are you becoming? And what is possible for you and for your family? This is an amazing world we live in. It's our BRCA world. So please stay for a moment in this space while we play out the tune, The Rose.
Stay a while. Everybody's free to vote now. Thank you, Helen. And when I clap, we're gonna be able to find it.